Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, March 26th Committee of the Whole meeting. Before we begin our meeting, we acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We recognize the deep and ongoing relationship the Mi'kmaq have with this land, and we honor their history, culture, and contributions. We welcome all those who live, work, and play in Stewiacke, and we strive to uphold the spirit of respect and unity in our community. I call the meeting to order at 7:01. In attendance tonight, we have all councillors present, as well as Mark Segan, our CAO, Erin Richard, the Director of Community Services, and Helen Young, the Director of Corporate Services. Are there any requested changes to the agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as is? Mary Glasser, is there a seconder? Councillor LeBlanc, all in favor? Item number 4, disclosure. Are there any disclosures of interest on the agenda? All right, hearing none, I'll move on. Number 5, are there any questions or changes required to the minutes from January 22nd, 2026 or February 26th, 2026? None? Okay, there are none. There are no announcements tonight, and we do have a presentation. Please welcome Nick Sharp, Executive Director of Central Nova Scotia Tourism Development Society. Please note that he will have a 10-minute presentation followed by a Q&A. And Nick, I'll give you a 2-minute warning when we're getting close to the 10 minutes.
Okay, perfect. You going now? Hey folks, thanks for the introduction. Thanks so much for allowing me to come in. Can I stand right here? Is this okay? Thanks for allowing me the time to come in here and introduce myself and just give a brief and hopefully meaningful update of the Central Nova Scotia Tourism Development Society, which of course the town of Stewiacke is a founding partner in. I do want to start by acknowledging and thanking Pam and Erin for your leading role within the society, of course, both as our board members and integral to the establishment of the society in the first place. All right, you can switch to the next slide here. So I will just give a high level progress recap of how we kind of got from the beginning up to today. Probably more so a reminder than new information for the group here. And I'll back up and say just a little bit about myself. I lived in Stewiacke for a couple of years. This was one of the first places I landed when I rented a home after university, and I always think back fondly on my time here. And now with an 8 and a 5-year-old at home, I look forward to bringing my kids into the wonderful recreation programs that you offer here in Stewiacke and the wonderful family-friendly events every summer and throughout the year. So I'm really happy to be here tonight. So going back to February of 2025, just over a year ago now, the STEP strategy was finalized. So this was the Strategic Tourism Expansion Plan strategy. This was an accumulation of a lot of different stakeholders and the municipal partners and Millbrook First Nation and the town of Stewiacke, town of Truro come to the table with the accommodation sector and other stakeholders within tourism led by a world-renowned consultant, of course, as you all likely recall. And what that did was spit out a number of recommendations to advance our region within growing and elevating tourism for the whole central Nova Scotia region. One of those recommendations was to operationalize the leadership model, which is now the Central Nova Scotia Tourism Development Society. So in July 2025, our board was developed and our governance was created. Fast forward a couple months later in October, and we're actually incorporated, and we have an operating agreement with our four founding partners, which we call our overseeing organizations. And then in November 2025, I was hired as the only full-time staff as the executive director for this new society. That is our DMO. So when I say DMO, I mean Destination Marketing Organization. There's been a lot of great work in our region for the last number of years. A lot of great entities and people doing some great work to advance tourism. But now we have this society so that we can be competitive against other communities that are investing in tourism across the country as a destination marketing organization. So this is a big leap forward for us in this region. So from November, when I was hired, until now, we're really focused on the early startup phase. We're really committed to taking a governance first approach to this work. I think our board members will hopefully reiterate that too. So we're keen to establish our early governance and fiduciary policies. We've been pretty diligent in doing a lot of that work up to now. We've obviously, and of course, at our stakeholder outreach, we've developed a policy roadmap to guide us through the next 12 months to make sure that we're set up for success and operating from a place of excellence. We've passed our first operating budget and we've already taken on some event attraction efforts, and we've been really diligent in trying to finalize and launch our event funding policy framework, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in my time here today. And then we just most recently in our last board meeting approved our 2026-27 business plan and operating budget so that we can actually transition and continue to work into next year. So a DMO at its core is mandated to grow tourism and elevate tourism for any given region, and that's what we're here to do. So within our operating agreement, again, primarily a reminder, we're mandated to allocate our funding essentially 50% towards growing leisure tourism. So that's supporting product development for and itineraries and experiences and packages, and working with our local tourism stakeholders that are doing great work and elevating all the natural and the built experiences that we already have across our region here, from Stewiacke to all the way to Tatamagouche and everywhere in between. So 50% towards those efforts, and then the remaining 50% towards events as a primary and focal point to grow tourism as well in the region. And that can be broken out into two categories. So some business events, conferences, festivals, more moderate events, and then 25% in more strategic and major hosted events. We can move on there. So this next year is really focused on foundational tools. So we're really in our infancy stage right now, and we know we need to transition out of that to really effectively promote the region. So that means a few things, a few key projects that we've identified. Corporate strategy, of course. So we have the STEP strategy. That's the region's strategy for growing tourism. But we need our own corporate strategy to guide us and really clearly define what our mandate is at the society level, to determine what our scope of service is, what we do and what we don't do, ensure we're falling in line and best practice as a DMO, and in line with the Municipal Government Act, which we have to adhere to the purpose and the intention of how we spend these tourism levy dollars. And then the brand development work. So I'll talk about that a little bit further, and the destination mapping, destination level website. So all that leads to a website. We need a functional digital asset so that we can properly promote our region. I am talking fast just because I have a lot of slides here. Respect my time, so please bear with me here. So yeah, we can actually move on. I think I touched on that, Mark. Just a few milestones. So we're going to formally adopt our really important governance policies. We'll go through our first audit this year. We'll have our first AGM as we continue to get established and work through our infancy. And we'll launch our event investment framework, which I'm going to talk about. Within our business plan, sector alignment and industry engagement is just so critical for any public-facing organization, but especially for us in our infancy. So we've identified a few key events that will represent our region at on the national and the regional level. And we've already established a quarterly newsletter, and we're trying to build that network out so that we can keep our tourism network fully engaged and informed. So talk about brand development a little bit. We have Explore Essential NS. Are you all familiar with this brand? So this was developed, it was led and championed through the Chamber of Commerce back about 5 or 6 years ago. Essentially to fill the gap with no DMO in place, but this was built before our strategy was developed, before we had a DMO, before we had dedicated resources. I don't want to go as far to say side of desk work. I don't want to diminish the great work that was done, because we needed a platform and a catalyst to promote our region through tourism. But now we have an opportunity to take a look at what our long-term vision is, what our identity is long-term, and ensure that we're really competitive and relevant to the tourists when we're looking at us versus other communities. Then once we get our corporate strategy done and our brand fleshed out and that visual identity really solidified, we're going to take on some destination mapping. So that that essentially takes a look at all the great work that's happening so far and actually building those experiences that we already offer into sellable products. So we need to develop these itineraries, the 48-hour, 72-hour itineraries. 2 minutes left. We'll keep going, keep it going. And then finally, this all leads into a really functional destination level website that will allow us to be competitive and have the functionality to list events and accommodation sectors and navigate all the ways in which we would expect and want. We'll just go by that one. I'll just use my last minute here to touch on, we'll just scroll through that. That's okay. It's just more about the collaboration. You've got investment framework. So I'm gonna skip the rest of the slides and I'm just gonna talk about this for a bit. So you saw the allocation. We are dedicated to leisure tourism. We're also dedicated to event attraction. So this doesn't always mean taking an active role and it always doesn't mean taking a passive role. So as a DMO, we do want to get out there and take an active role in trying to develop business for the region, looking at some major events that bring and maximize our tourism outcomes. And then we also want to ensure that we're taking a holistic approach at all of our communities across the region and providing opportunities for everyone for events at all levels that are tourism facing or have the potential to be tourism facing to access funding to help grow our programs and our events across the region. We do have a vast region, as we all know. So we've been working diligently creating that framework and the policy and the program that we're really excited to launch, and we're just preparing to launch in May for our first intake program, so that groups and organizations that are looking to host events or already planning to host events can tap into funding. We've created all the evaluation criteria and the eligibility and what outcomes we're looking for, and we're just finalizing our application form and now the public facing information that will go out to the community so that they can actually tap into that. We've been working really hard to ensure that it meets our mandate to grow and grow measurable tourism outcomes, but it's also user friendly and groups can tap into it hopefully quite seamlessly. And I think that's my time. So thank you for bearing with me. I knew there was too many slides, but I'm gonna try to stick to 30 seconds. I had a hard time there. Now I'd like to open it up for any questions and just show my gratitude for bearing with me as I spoke about 30 words every 10 seconds.
Councillor Osborne.
Do you want to just talk about the area that we serve so that people understand how broad it actually is?
Yeah, so central Nova Scotia, the service area is we've got the town of Stewiacke, the town of Truro, the county of Colchester, and Millbrook First Nation. So again, it is everywhere from Stewiacke all the way down to Tatamagouche and all the way over to Five Islands. So it's dozens of communities within the entire region. Right now, our brand is Explore Central NS, but that's why the brand work is so important. Is it going to remain as Central NS, even the right language to go behind our brand? I don't know the answer to that. That's why we're going to bring in some experts and go through a proper exercise to figure that out. But it is quite a vast region, which isn't unique to us. There are lots of regional DMOs that cover and support and partner with many communities all across Canada that we can kind of learn from and make sure that we're not recreating the wheel.
Any other questions?
Wow.
Councillor Osborne.
Oh, another one. Since everyone's
I was gonna
quiet.
call on you anyway, even if you didn't raise your hand. I'm like, I know.
I mean, I know the answers to these, but do you want to talk a little bit about smaller community events and how our society may be able to support those?
Yeah, so that's through our event investment framework that we've been working on. So this has come up a lot through our discussions, which is great because we want to make sure that we're thinking everything through. What I like about our framework is it is tourism outcomes based. It's outcomes based. I always use the language that we're buying tourism outcomes. We're not here to subsidize events. We're here to buy or invest in tourism outcomes, whether that's on the leisure tourism side or an event. The goal is always the same, but through events are an opportunity for incremental visitation growth. They're really tangible ways to grow tourism, and they're an important part of DMO's objectives and mandate across the country, and they invest just like we are aiming to invest. But what I like about our framework is not geographically based, but we do have tiers of events based on total event budget. So we made sure that we built within our framework opportunities for events of $5,000 to $25,000 total budget to be able to tap into resources, or events up to $500,000 plus on the major event side to be able to tap into resources. So we have 4 tiers of events, and they go through they're defined by event budget, and they can they include a variety of event types, so anything from a conference or a festival or a new emerging event or something, a culinary experience or anything in between. So the purpose is to be tourism facing. And we can support groups in figuring out how, if it's not, how we can support them in ensuring that we can invest in ways that they might not have in their budget to support getting tourists involved or engaged in those types of events. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any further questions? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Thanks.
I braced well, the event stuff as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
It gets a little noisy in here, Nick.
Yeah.
The drag race behind you.
Oh, yeah. Didn't slow me down. Thanks for coming, Dan. Thank you, folks. I appreciate it.
All right, item 8, written petitions. We have no written petitions. Moving to citizen comments, and there's no comments tonight. So we will move into business, and I'm gonna hand the CAO report over to our CAO.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few updates tonight. We talked a little bit about the water tank maintenance project, at the last meeting that, the planning is still underway for that. It's quite a complex project, so we've got the team working on that. Just want to remind the public that we're going to get into the water tank maintenance project early in the spring, so it's going to start in April and May. We will communicate with the public to make sure that everyone's aware of the timelines and what will occur. We will have to take each tank offline one at a time to do the maintenance on the tanks, which will leave us operating with one tank at a time. So when we do that, we will be asking the public to conserve the water, and we'll remind the public as we get closer to that time to adhere to the restrictions that we put in place. The water treatment plant design, we talked about at the last meeting. There's a council report, and the recommendation went forward, and we'll go forward tonight by the council meeting to sign off on the grid funding for the actual design for the water treatment plant. From a staffing perspective, we have 99% finalized the design RFP for construction management and design. Pending the sign up by council tonight on that report and funding, we'll be able to take that to market and be back in a few months to report to council on an award for that to get going on the design of the water treatment plant. Diesel generator, we talked about that at the last meeting. Just a quick update on that. We're still waiting for the equipment to come in. The bladder for the diesel tank needs to be replaced. As soon as it's here, we will begin the repair. The next update, just talking about the amalgamation meeting. We did host that on March the 5th. And we will await any further comments or instruction from council. The only remaining update to bring council up to speed on is just regarding the regional emergency management organization. So Studiac, Truro, and Colchester are the 3 main players in our regional emergency management team. We have had a request from East Hants to join our REMO here. They're required by the province under the new Emergency Act plan to join a REMO. They've asked to join ours. Colchester and Truro and Studiac would all recommend that they join our team. What it does, it strengthens our resources at the table anytime we have an emergency here in the area. So nothing really in terms of financial implications or anything for council to get into the weeds on. It's more or less that it'll strengthen our resources at the table if we have an emergency. With that, I'm happy to take any questions from council.
Councillor Osborne?
2, can you provide us an update on when our municipal training will be happening?
Yes, so I do have some proposed dates from our trainer or our trainer at the province. We've been so busy with other meetings, I have not set a date for it. I will get on that as we get into April and the budget process.
Yeah.
Is underway.
And my supplemental is about paving / potholes.
Yes.
Any idea when we may be able to fill some of those?
Yeah, our public works team is gearing up for the spring maintenance. We're just getting, obviously the snow is still flying, so they've been hard at work, but we will get on that. I'll get an update for you on that, but they'll start doing it around town.
There's some pretty deep ones I know up past the mayor's place and all along St. Andrew Street on both sides of it, all the way down.
I hit one on my way in, leaving.
There we go.
Yeah.
Any question?
Councilor Rogers, just following up on the sewer connection bylaw staff report, when
Yes.
that's going to come back.
So I'm anticipating that will come to the April meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
How are we with our amalgamation talks? Have we found out anything?
So on that, we had our public meeting. It's on the agenda for this evening for council to discuss, under business item C. So we're gonna talk about the budget first on B. And then council can talk about what they heard at the meeting and general comments and have an open discussion from there.
Great, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, we will move on to item 10B, the 2026-27 draft budget, and I will hand that over to our CIO.
And thank you. So with that, you're going to, excuse me, I was gonna get this presentation up ready. I'm gonna hand it off to Helen, our Director of Corporate Services, and then to kind of go through the budget, but where we've been in the last couple of months, we've had 2 public budget consultations. We've received feedback on a number of line items, we've done a number of revisions, we had a number of items come in late in terms of some formulas like from the RCMP new funding model that's coming from the province. So Helen will be able to give us an update tonight as to updates that have gone into the actual budget. We'll open up the floor to council from there to talk about questions or get any information that we require. Over down.
Thank you, Mark. Right. So first slide, I'm going to highlight the changes that have been made in the general operating budget. Under the first section, the first change is our garbage collection revenue that has been revised. There was an error in the calculation, so that has been reduced to the actual. There was an increase to the fire department grant. That was for the addition of the resource taxable. So that is an increase there. The overall amount of the change for those 2 items is a reduction in revenue of $32,656. Next slide. Next slide, under revenue from our own sources. The first change is to the after school care program. That has been reduced by $4,000. The staff does not anticipate receiving that grant from CCRCE this year. Under downtown decorating, there is no change to the revenue side of it. However, I did want to note that the rec committee reduced the cost of town days by $8,000, leaving the town day expense at $10,000 with hopefully a surplus of $3,000 if we get the same community support this year as we did last. So with those 2 changes on the revenue side, the overall increase in revenue should be 12.7%. Not 11.7. And then the total changes are $36,562. Next slide, on to expense. Under legislative, we've added back in $1,500 for, their professional development. Under administrative expense, training and development, I just wanted to note that that 3,500 includes staff as well as CAO training.
Excuse me, repeat that, please.
Sure. Under training and development, administrative, 3,500. That includes CAO training as well as administrative training.
Oh, yeah, I see it, so.
Mhm. Next change is increase to our heating cost. It was previously earmarked for $6,000. That has been increased to $7,036. With the continuing increases of fuel and oil, there are going to be some significant rises in costs in these areas. So it was important to put in a little bit more of a buffer there. Slide. Under transportation and public works, this line item had previously been $2,000. However, it's been since identified that we have two additional staff that require maritime provinces wastewater and water certification training. And that cost is in and around $2,000 per person. Slide. Continuing on with transportation and public works, snow and ice has been increased to 67,000, up from 47,000 as originally anticipated. This year we used an additional 250 metric tons of salt. There will also be increased trucking costs in the coming year, in the next fiscal year. So that had to be increased by 20,000. And I will say that the Farmer's Almanac is expecting another winter like we had this year. Just putting it out there.
Thanks, Helen.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Under vehicle operation and maintenance, that had previously been at 10,000, again, increased to $11,618 to compensate for some additional fuel costs. Drainage ditches, that has been increased from 6,000 to 10,000. There is 5 culverts that have been identified in front of low-income housing that need to be repaired. Slide. Under recreation and culture, community center kitchen, the propane costs. Although propane is not regulated the same way that gas and oil is, we could still anticipate some increased costs coming down the pipeline. So that was previously $3,802. That has been increased to $4,827. Similarly with the community center heating fuel. Again, that was originally $8,752. That has been increased to $11,112. Under rec committee expenses, again, the rec committee reduced the cost of town days by $8,000. So this line item has reduced from $22,400 down to $14,400. So the overall reduction in operational costs for this fiscal budget is 4.1% over last year's budget.
higher? Like, what do you mean by,
Operation, it's just.
is it higher
It's
or lower
Lower
than last year?
than last year, yes. Next slide. Once we add in our fiscal responsibilities and transfers to our operating reserves. The overall increase prior to transfers is 2.08% in the overall budget. After we take into account transfers to reserves, the increase in the overall budget is 12.9%. The overall decrease to the operational budget with all of these changes is $36,656. Thank you. We'll move along with our water utility operating budget. On our first page here, under the water treatment section, maintenance of equipment. That was originally $10,000. We have increased that to $25,000 in consideration of the ongoing repairs that needs to be done to the water treatment plant. Next slide, please. Under transmission and distribution, there was an increase under vehicle fuel. Again, this increase is relative to the increased costs in fuel and oil. Next slide.
So we're going to talk about the capital budget now. Just some budget notes before we start. Sorry, did I miss a slide, Helen?
Yes,
Last
yes,
page.
sorry.
Okay,
Yes, right there.
well, we're up there.
Thank you. With the changes in the water utility operational budget, it reduces our transfer to our water utility capital fund by $20,600. So we had originally earmarked $161,282 to go into that capital reserve. It is now $140,682.
So moving on to the capital budget, and I'll turn it back to Helen in a moment. We just wanted to provide some notes to council as we talk about the conversation about capital budget. So we just wanted council to be aware of the recent budget changes at the provincial government level have resulted in infrastructure funding programs like grid being canceled, but no announcements have been made regarding any replacement programs. So we will watch for those. We're also noting to council that we just want you to be aware that the ICIP funding, which was approved at the federal level, has not seen an application process since 2023. We're hoping we see some future announcements, which we will monitor and bring back to council as they come up, hoping they come soon. We forecast our immediate infrastructure needs at approximately $38 million. Without any funding programs being announced, the financial burden on the town is 100%. We're hoping again to note that programs do come and we will continue to monitor those are MLA and NP. We know for council that based on the town's immediate needs, we're into an infrastructure funding crunch, which results in pushing critical projects out into future budgets. In the example, Lewis and Pleasant Street have had to be pushed out because they couldn't be afforded in this coming year. So when we look at the overall need for the town right now, in terms of all of the immediate projects we have coming up, we've got our wastewater infrastructure at 5 million. We have the 50% grant. Our town share is 2.5 million. We've got the water treatment plant design. We were successful in getting 50% grid funding to the tune of 1.702006. And as we go down the list right now, the rest of the programs, we will monitor programs that come up at the federal and provincial level, hoping that some will be announced soon. But right now, without those, we're just basing the numbers at 100%. So if you total all of the current needs up, We're looking at $38.3 million in immediate infrastructure needs. Our town estimated share is 34.1 million. That does not take into account general infrastructure, so annual paving, culverts, sidewalks, all the general infrastructure in and around town. Those need to go into the annual capital budgets and be discussed by council in future years. I'm gonna hand it back over to Helen, and she's gonna talk about the 3-year consolidated capital budget.
Thank you, Mark. 26-27, the consolidated capital requirements, $13,725,028. When we talk about, I want to talk a little bit about the wastewater project and the design for the water treatment plant. Our portion of that cost is $2,968,006. That represents 82% of our tax revenue. It represents 71% of our overall revenue. These two projects, we have commitments from the province, we have agreements, so they need to move forward. 27 and 28, the water utility will continue on with work at the wastewater treatment plant. And then, of course, the general capital needs. We'll get into a little bit more detail here in a minute. 28-29, we're looking at $12,632,500 to address our capital needs. Next. So thank you. So our paving program, it's been determined by staff that the V section over on Asquith, the dollar store, is in dire need of repair. That will come in at a cost of approximately $75,000. That change. The cab for the Kubota for $7,000 that has been removed. And the purchase of a new or nearly new Kubota moved up from fiscal 29. So that's $30,000 with a trade-in and hopefully a cab that will go on it as well. There are 3 culverts leading to the wastewater treatment plant that have the potential to collapse under a heavy weight of trucks that carry chemicals into the water treatment plant. So replacement of those 3 culverts is of a high priority. There's no change to the garage repairs. That remains at $56,000. The town hall new build, that remains at $2 million. The library new build, $2 million. The public works building, if we invested about $100,000 in there to meet compliance and some accessible upgrades. And we could rent the property, even looking at disposing of the property if it's not going to be used. So our general capital for 26-27 is $4,346,000. General capital in fiscal 28, we would continue with our paving program, which has typically been between $100,000 and $150,000. However, Tower to the Kitchener town limit has been identified as one of those stretches of streets here that need to be fixed sooner rather than later. And that comes in at a cost of $780,000. Public Works dump truck, that remains the same, at a cost of $250,000. Staff have also identified the need for a new zero-turn lawnmower for Parks, Grounds, and Public Works. that comes in at $25,000. Trail resurfacing remains at 150. Shade structure for the Dennis Park, that stays 40,000. Cross culvert at Main Street West, which was brought forward from the previous budget, stays at $35,000. And the cross culvert at Sherbrooke Street stays at $25,000. These two, again, are just two very small examples of projects being pushed out into future years, because we can't seem to raise enough capital to fund. In 2029, paving program again is 100,000. A new backhoe at a cost of 250,000. Gym and fitness center. Ball field lights and expansion. And the pump track. They haven't changed. Those are nice to have. I'm just putting it out there. They're nice to have. And that's still a couple of years off, so who knows? Things can change. Next slide, please. Our 3-year water utility capital budget, again, Lewis and Pleasant Street were first tabled in the 2020 budget. Those two projects are now moving out into 27 and 28. That's a long time to push those two projects back. I mean, the cost of both combined is 1.6 million. And in the grand scheme of things, over the course of the last 7 years, one would have hoped that those projects would have been completed. However, they have not, so they are being pushed. Lewis was first intended to use the CCFB or the gas tax money. So gas tax funds had originally been intended to fund the Lewis Street upgrade. However, staff have identified that Pleasant Hill is of a much more urgent need. So we'll be pulling the funding from Lewis Hill and applying that funding to Pleasant. We also have we've received the approval of the 50% grid funding for the planning and design phase of the water treatment plant. Keeping in mind that the town has to come up with 1.7 million to fulfill its part of that agreement. So for the next fiscal budget, the water capital needs are going to be $4,379,028. Moving into.
I don't know if you want questions as we go or not, so I've got a number of questions, so I'll just wait.
Yeah, we'll finish. 27, 28 would start the site preparation and the construction of a water treatment plant. I see I have the note beside it, ICIP funding application pending. Please disregard that. I should have scratched that out. There is no ICIP funding available at this time. And again, Lewis Street as at a $667,058 for a total requirement of $10,667,058 for fiscal 28. Moving into fiscal 29, the construction of and testing of the water treatment plant to potentially start in this year. It may go into 3030. You can see the future that far, but the cost for this part of the project, we're looking at $11,722,500. And that is the total for the 2029 water capital budget. Let's see. Okay. So as was mentioned before, the province has pulled grid funding, it's pulled our provincial capital assistance program. And there's been no announcements for any funding, both provincially or federally. That's not to say that that won't change in the next month or so. And staff will keep an eye out for those grants as they do become available. Another option the council could also consider is increasing our credit facilities with our bank. But with that increases our fiscal costs. If we were to hypothetically increase our borrowing with our financial institution, $5 million of borrowing, we're looking at repaying about 500,000 plus, 14, 15 grand in interest annually. That's not the solution. It's a Band-Aid. Oops. That. So highlighted in green are the projects that were completed in this fiscal year, and they all came in on budget. If you look down at the end of this fiscal year, you can see that our reserves are in a negative balance, negative $785,488. That is largely due to the commitment for the wastewater treatment plant and having those funds specifically set aside. We have $1,037,000 in our combined reserves right now, cash in the bank. And we have about $197,000 that we've earned in interest. So all of those things are all factored in here into the equation. And we land at a shortfall, of course, at the end of this year. With no funding available right now, the only other option that we would have would be to debenture some of our assets. So, for example, if we were to build a new town hall, we would debenture that new town hall and borrow from the province on that. Sorry. But as you can see, as you go down through year over year, reserves continually deplete. And the next fiscal year would be at 1.6 deficit. 28, we could be faced with a $14 million deficit. And running into 2029, with no funding available, we're looking at a $25 million deficit. That's taking into account all of the reserves, all interest, and that's year over year, making transfers of about 1.4 million from our operating into our capital. Now, the remainder of the slides are schedules that have been already circulated with the previous. So that concludes the updates. Questions?
Councilor Osborne.
Well, I have a number. I wish we had questions as we went, and maybe it wouldn't seem like I had so many, but I have some on probably almost every page.
That's fine. No page by page.
Okay. So, when you say there's a decrease of 32,656,
Mhm.
what do you mean by that? Do you mean a decrease in,
Dollars.
but do you mean a net decrease in our funding, like in revenue? Do you mean a decrease in our spending?
No, in our revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's because these two items increased in cost, correct?
Yes, the increase in costs, yes.
All right. That's that. Second page. When you talk about town days,
Yes.
I'm very, very, very concerned that $10,000 is not enough. Last year, I believe the budget was 18,000. Yes, the committee was able to raise 14,000, but as you just continued to say throughout this whole presentation, costs are going up. Costs for town days is going up.
Mhm.
It's our anniversary year. So I'm very, very concerned with that decrease, that it is not going to be the event that our residents are used to. And there's no guarantee that that the committee can raise that kind of funds again this year for the exact same reason that you just said throughout the whole thing.
Exactly.
So I have done a little figuring myself, but we'll get there at the end here after we finish all my questions.
So the
Um,
town days,
Mhm.
that was brought forward by the rec committee.
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't know.
but it's still a council decision,
Yes, absolutely.
okay? And as a counselor sitting here and as a town resident and was raised here and remembers what town days means to our community,
Oh,
a
massive.
decrease in almost half the budget to me is not going to put on the festival that our community one deserves or is used to, creates the memories, brings in the tourism, all of those pluses.
Mhm.
So I am always of the opinion that maybe the committee will raise 20,000. I don't know. But none of us know until after the fact. So I would rather see a festival, a weekend, be enhanced and us be able to raise more money because it is our anniversary year, than scaled back. I've also heard that there was a suggestion that we not have any Sunday events, but I understand that that's not the case, but that's not. So I understand it's a recommendation from a committee, but I believe it's a council decision.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that is my opinion on it.
Yes.
And I just want to echo, I agree with Councillor Osborne, this is 105th anniversary. And just talking to somebody earlier this week, town days is a big thing to them. And well, I don't want to say we can't pull it off with fireworks and whatever. Probably be disappointing to a lot of people, at least on our anniversary, that's the big splash. Maybe next year we can cut back.
So I'd like to see that increase back up to 18,000. And I have some savings. I did do that too. Okay, so it's unfortunate that we won't get the funding from the school board. There's the first line item under legislative, you have 18,777, but then you have an CPI of 2.6%. But the line item from the last year is 13,726.
That's a year to date.
That's just a year to date?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is the 18,302 or whatever,
Yes, 18,302 was the actual.
is the actual,
For
okay,
the prior.
okay, all right. And get that $5,000 over there. The other thing that I looked at too is counselor professional development. You've decreased that by $5,000, or actually cut it in half to $5,000, although I'm not quite sure I understand why. I was given a reason why, but I believe that should be increased back up to at least 7,500. Because there's 4 counselors there. We have a professional development on governance that's happening on Monday, and I was told there was no money in the budget for anyone to go. So like those things come up, and sometimes they're very important training. And if councils isn't able to have that training, and I'm not just talking about the council members that are around the table right now, I think we're shorting ourselves in becoming better for our communities. So I'd like to see that raised back up to 7,500. And I didn't quite understand the mileage for counselors is the same for the mileage for one person, meaning the mayor. The mayor's mileage is 2,000, but counselors is also 2,000. When in fact, when you add the two the other council travel and the mileage, it actually adds up to 8,000. So you've kind of actually put that in a quarter amount instead of even half it. If you look here, there's like counselor other travel 6 in the budget from last year, and then 2. And then you have the actuals, and then you've taken now included in lines above. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do.
So it's like there's 4 council members that would rely on that budget. So in essence, someone could only go to a couple of meetings. Because there's 4 of us. So I'm wondering if that can't be raised to 3,500 as well. Again, I do have some savings somewhere, so you just give me a sec, okay? When we look at administrative salaries, we've added in $48,000 for a project admin coordinator, which is a new role. Perhaps we don't need that this year. Perhaps that's a cut that we should look at and not have it. And that's a savings of $48,000.
Right, the whole idea for that 48,000 was to help support us here with our capital project needs. It's a very heavy administrative burden when you're trying to, look after a capital project and you've got like essentially 1 or 2 people doing it.
And I understand that, but maybe we don't need to hire somebody. Maybe we can cost share that with another municipality for a lot less.
Okay.
Well, if you don't mind, are we hiring somebody or are we doing cost sharing?
Both options are viable. We can look at both. We've got the example with Town Truro where we cost share on planning services, so we can look at that.
Okay, so I guess my question is, we haven't spent the 48,000 yet. We haven't hired anybody yet.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. But then. So what we're talking about is hiring a professional, perhaps half-time, quarter-time, whatever, like a Bachelor of Engineering, I'm just guessing here. So that's what that 48,000 represents?
Correct.
So it's somebody who's supposed to know how a road works.
Yes, but for that amount, we will not get an engineer.
No.
We need an engineer. That's where we definitely fall short in terms of our capital program, our oversight, our planning, our maintenance and monitoring. We may be able to find, 1-day solution or 2-day solution with another municipality. We can look at that.
I wonder sometimes if we're a penny short here by not having somebody that knows how to do stuff. But we kind of missed the boat on Riverside. I guess that's maybe my example.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the person for 48,000 would have figured that out. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
What I am saying, we did miss the boat on Riverside, though.
Yes, but I think where we've become stronger in our procurement. You can see in our procurement of last year, all capital projects have come in on budget and or vendor. We're writing the RFPs or tenders correctly and getting the right people, the right information out to get the right numbers now.
I'm just trying to understand
Understood.
where the 48,000, how it's working, that's all.
Yeah.
So before I would take it out, I would like to know, that's what anyway, thank you very much.
So that's my suggestion, take that 48 out, look at cost sharing with another municipality. You answered my questions on those. Those are costs. We're on page.
Before you that we will make note of all of these suggestions.
Yeah.
And I think when we come back to another
Mhm.
meeting, we're gonna have to add or delete.
Yeah.
And we'll put the suggestions in front of council,
Yeah.
at which time all 5 of you can have your
Yeah.
vote. And I know in Councillor LeBlanc's absence, you will not be here at the next meeting. We'll have that noted, in terms of all of your suggestions.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping I'm not the only one that has suggestions tonight. Page 6. Refreshments at public events, 50 for $1,000. Can we cut that out? Do we need refreshments at events?
Which line are we looking at here?
Special projects.
That would be a question for you, Aaron.
You can?
Okay. So there's a savings of 1,000.
But just before we run on.
Yeah,
Sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
Special projects, I'm sorry, with all refreshment, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, explain what the refreshments are for.
So those, your Christmas events, so hot chocolate, other events, March break, we have some it's hot chocolate and coffee. So senior social has some as well. We did have that did we have that captured in the rec budget?
mhm.
Yes, so just those few and then, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's hot chocolate and coffee for the few events that we have.
So we may be able to get sponsored, which we used to be able to.
Yeah, it works the
Yeah.
service, we just move, which is.
But maybe not cut it out, because we just made a thing about town days being
Yeah.
important for the community residents and that you wanna make
Yeah.
sure they're engaged, that, so if you're gonna cut out the other few events that we have, then it's talking out of both sides, I guess, like
Sure.
town days is important, but these ones aren't.
But there was a great turnout for the Christmas tree lighting.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, but
I didn't get it, but that's okay.
Rachel did, that's part of it.
Yeah.
You know, so like,
Gonna get one before.
Okay, well, that's fine. But, and this is what I mean, I'm just bringing out suggestions. And I also wanna talk where I'm getting these suggestions to. So the downtown decorating, flower baskets, wreaths, $8,000. The business committee discussed this, and they actually said to nix it. That, to rely on the businesses, that it should definitely be cost neutral and that, they wanted the $8,000 taken out of the budget. So. Town days we talked about, so I'm not sure if you would have to increase that amount or not. Okay. So before I get into the operating, I just wanted to sort of give a little background of why I decided to look at all these. We received correspondence from a couple of residents, and one in particular actually had some suggestions in it regarding budgeting. And a couple of them really stood out to me. And one was considering redrafting the budget with a greater tax reduction, which I made some notes on how we could actually get there. But another suggestion was looking at our staffing levels and what do we actually need and what can we actually afford and what can we cost share with others. And cost sharing with others doesn't necessarily mean with the town of Truro or with East Hants. It could be cost sharing with Antigonish. Like I've watched other municipalities actually cost share a staff member and they're not connected at all. They're like miles apart. So I'm wondering if we can't maybe look at that when you bring it back. Do an analysis on our staffing levels, what we actually need, compare them to previous years and what has what that staff level has been able to do. I know we're growing. I'm not saying we're not growing, and I'm not saying that things aren't more complex than what they were, 15 years ago. I'm sure they are. Everything changes, right? Regulations change on a daily basis. But what I'm saying is, if residents are asking us to take a deeper dive, maybe we need to take a deeper dive. I'm sure many people are watching what's happening in HRM, and they're looking at a 10% increase in their property tax rate. I don't want to see that with us, but when you paint a picture of what you did with our capital, we might have to get there. But there was a couple other things that I looked at. If we do not need the $48,000 for a project coordinator, my understanding was it was a project coordinator, not an engineer. I know you've talked about us needing an engineer, but this project coordinator was just that, to look after projects and to coordinate those.
That's correct. To be
Okay.
honest with council, the project coordinator's salary at 48,000 is a Band-Aid.
Right.
We need an engineer on our team to keep up with the maintenance and the infrastructure in this town. I think that's one of our major faults and why we're at the infrastructure crunch we're at. We have had no capital maintenance plans. We have gone on a fix it when it completely breaks mentality. We need that staffing level. We should be increasing our staffing versus talking about cutting. In the last year, we have gone from a 4-person management team down to a 3, and the 3 of us around the table have absorbed the full job of that 4th person that's gonna live in every cost savings that we can. And, as your CAO sitting on the desk, I'm doing multiple jobs off the corner of my desk and I'm not able to put my full attention to it. And we have been extremely innovative with our planning contracts, finding solutions elsewhere. We've brought in Atlantic Water Utility to help out. And I can tell you that has been a huge success for us. We have decreased costs significantly on that regard. So we have found significant cost savings on the staffing side. I don't believe, from a staffing perspective, we're going to find more cuts than what we've already done.
But unless we actually do an analysis, we don't know, right? We don't know if we can't, like, if there's not an ability to cost share with someone else on engineering
We
services,
could look at.
right?
Sure. Yes,
right?
yes.
Do we actually need an engineer full time? Like, have we actually looked at that? Or do we need one 2 days a week?
Yeah.
Much like the water contract, like the wastewater contract or Atlantic Water, whatever they're called, much like them,
Exactly.
right? So,
And you're right. Is it the cost of the
Right.
Atlantic Water? If we had an engineer that could do that work, we could cut them out, add in that salary. We can look at things like that.
Yeah. So when I looked at that, simply because of, and this comes out of the amalgamation meeting, which I know that we'll talk about later. How do we reduce our tax rate? That's, I think, what I heard throughout that amalgamation meeting was people were, one, what do we get for our taxes? And I'll talk about that when we get to the amalgamation meeting. But when I looked at, if we cut out the 48,000 and then the 8,000 from the flowers and wreaths, just that alone is 56,000, which is 3 cents reduction in our tax rate. Okay, those are some of the things that when I went through it, I looked at. I know 3 cents isn't a lot, but I still think it's something. And it's what the residents asked us to look at.
A 3 cent tax reduction would equate to approximately $65
I know,
a year.
I know.
And if I'm being fully transparent, reducing taxes is not in the best interest of supporting the growth of this town. And I understand wholeheartedly 150% the struggles everybody is having. And I guess it's left up to council to decide what is more important. Is that the tax reduction, or is it figuring out how we're going to move forward? So,
Yeah.
difficult decisions.
Yeah, exactly, and I totally agree with you. But I think it's prudent on me as a counselor to do what my residents have asked me, the ones that have come to me and
Absolutely.
expressed their suggestions. So that's my role.
Absolutely.
So that's what I've done.
Yes, thank you.
But at the same time, the conversation I had with somebody last week, who's opposed to a new town hall 5 years ago. So I had a little conversation with him. Town hall needs to be attended to. Should have been attended to probably 5 or 10 years ago. So the cost 5 years ago might have been $1 million. I'm making up figures. Today, it's gonna be 2 million.
Mhm.
What did the taxpayers actually save by delaying a new building by 5 years? And we talk about giving the taxpayers a break. I don't see that as a break. And every time we delay something, the cost goes up.
Great.
So my point that I'm trying to make is sometimes we haven't attempted to hiring the $48,000 person, whatever it is. I use the example of engineer, but whatever. That we have not attended to some of these things that are actually now costing the town even more money, which means whether we like it or not, no reduction in taxes at all. I mean, you gave us some figures, I really. Yeah, so. That's what, there's an old saying, you know. About saving a penny sometimes, it don't work that way. So that's the point I'm trying to make, Deputy Mayor, that we can talk about reducing taxes, but my goodness.
Want me to continue?
Oh, just before you go.
Yeah.
I did take note, actual employees. I know it sounds strange, I'm not sure how many people we really employ.
We employ 18 people in total,
18?
yes. That includes, you know, all the recreation staff, our public works, water utility, and office staff.
Okay, it's a lot more than I thought. Because when I saw something in here about 2 people at the water treatment plant. Do we actually have 2 people at the water treatment plant?
We do.
Oh, okay. Well, I apologize, I had no concept about that, dumb question for me to have asked, but would you mind listing what our employees are doing?
Well, I can tell you with the water treatment plant, we can use a third.
Yeah.
I know.
Tom and Angie have been putting in weeks, they're almost 100 hours in the last little while, because the state of that water treatment plant, we need to do 2 backwashes a night. They've been coming in at like midnight, 4 o'clock in the morning. Their hours have been significant over the last few months.
If I don't know how many employees the town has, how many people in the town don't know how many employees we really have?
Hence why I asked about a review.
Yeah, okay, yeah, not, yeah.
We did share our organizational chart during the inauguration meeting, and happy to circulate that to council if needed.
Yeah. I guess I was remiss in picking up on that.
You want me to continue? Okay. I'm jumping right to capital. So when you say 2.968, is that capital or water?
That slide was not even supposed to be included in the package. It was just the first section.
This is what you were saying when you, in your comments, I wrote it down.
Right here, okay.
82% of tax revenue, 71%.
Yes.
So what is
Yes,
that?
correct.
Is that capital or water? Because there is a difference between general capital or water. And
Well-
I couldn't follow it.
That is the wastewater and the water plant design, when you're talking
The 2.9,
2.9 million,
so that falls under the water?
that falls under water. Yes.
Okay, not capital, because this is your general capital, correct? Or did you put it together? You kind of put it together, didn't you?
Fine, together.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. All right. So then when we talk about. I'm not gonna talk about funding right at this moment, but when we talk about. The Public Works building. And possibly selling that, are you talking about the old post office, like this this brick building? Okay. Then we get down to buying a dump truck. And a backhoe, which is $500,000. Correct?
Right.
So I know this is pushed out, but it's here. So I believe we just passed a new policy, I hope we passed it.
We are bringing
It-
you
Policy,
purchasing policy to the bylaw and policies committee
okay,
with recommendations that will include provisions for staff to go and buy equipment at auction.
okay, which could considerably reduce these
Yeah,
costs,
so we are
Okay.
working on
okay,
solutions to find cost savings.
Okay.
by Changing our policies.
okay. Do we need? A new, it says a new Kubota, do we need that right now?
Yes, they have done a number of repairs to the Kubota this year. There is no cab on it, so our staff person is sitting on it, doing snow removal. A lot of breakdowns, so the hope is that we can trade in our old one and get a few dollars, and with the new policy comes out. Attain one through marketplace auction.
Okay, so that cost could be considerably reduced as well.
It could be.
Okay,
Any equipment that we're going to look at with the provisions in the purchasing policy that will hopefully bring forward and improved. Will allow us to go out and source things that are more fiscally responsible manner rather than buying new. Our hope would be, within the policy, to be able to go to the Ritchie Brothers auction. And buy a dump truck that's a year old or 2 years old that's significantly. Cost reduced and still quality.
okay. 28, 29. I know the last three items, the pump track, the ball field lights and the gym are nice things to have. But when people see them in our capital for planning, perhaps we should take those out and push them further.
Oh, absolutely.
You could remove them.
Yeah,
I didn't want to say that, but.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Okay, well, considering the amount of money we took in from the ball field, 56,000 last year.
in revenue, no.
No, how much did we take in revenue?
It's like 1,600.
1,600.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. Wrong lawn.
when you say the total, I'm now at your capital draft, when you say the total is 4.3, 4.379, that doesn't take into account the 1.7, correct? That's the total cost, but that would be the cost minus the 1.7 that we received from the province, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I really want people to understand that this isn't the cost to us. It would be that minus the 1.7 that we've received.
7, yes.
Okay, so would we be able to update that, like, in order to show, like, when the public is looking at this, that they understand that we have received 1.7 million towards that? I know you have it up in green as grid 50% by, but I'm just wondering if we can actually take it out and show the actual cost.
Sure, you could.
That's it for me. For right now, anyway. For right now.
I'm gonna be a lot shorter. Just a couple of things, and yeah, with the, I had the flower baskets on there too, and I was actually at the meeting, that could either get very much so reduced or totally eliminated, because sponsors can do it, and chances are we're gonna go into a drought anyway. You put flowers up, they're gonna die because we can't water them, so why waste the money, you know? We get the wreaths up there and half of them sit down in the doorway for people to pick up, and we're spending money that we don't need to. So as far as I'm concerned, I agree that could go away. I have. The major increase that we have in postage from year to date of 41,700 going up to 83,052. I don't know if we have to go up quite that high if we mail things out once. Cause I know we had a couple of errors where things were mailed out a couple of times, so that number could be inflated. That's on page 3.
Yeah, our postage, is, yeah, 65.36.
On the year to date postage, I have,
Oh, year-to-date postage,
oh,
25
sorry, did I circle the wrong one? No,
2504 is what I have.
504.
Sorry.
Year-to-date.
that's my fault. I've circled equipment rental. Barely can't see. I'm going blind, guys. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Actually, you're right. It says postage meter right beside it.
That's where I got it, where it goes the
Yeah.
postage meter.
Yeah, yep,
That's why I was a little bit
yeah.
confused.
No, you're
Yeah.
right.
But even if you wanna go further up to the other line where we were at year to date for postage at 2,500. And we're going up to 36, but it says,
That year-to-date is at December 31st,
okay,
so it's not as of yesterday or
Yeah.
a couple of days ago. So included in our postage is, we have our 2 tax mail outs every year. We've got our 4 utility billings that go out every year. In between there, we have, tax notices and water utility notices, that go out, and then just general mailings. So at a cost of, $1.25 or 26 now for postage, each mail out is roughly 800 to 850 pieces of mail, so
Mhm.
it doesn't take long for it to add up.
there was such a big, from the 25 to
Yeah,
the 65, I thought.
Can we
that
do
was-
it online? Like paperless for, I know not for everybody, but like I don't get mine mailed to me, I get it email. Is that not an option that people can sign up for to go paperless somehow or?
it's right on it, sign up front, sign up for electronic billing.
Is it?
today. We've sent out notices with our utility and
Oh,
our
okay.
tax billings. So everybody, we encourage people to sign up for the electronic billing. It's just so much easier
All right.
and environmental friendly.
So the last thing I had, and I'm not saying that this doesn't have any value, but in the meetings that I've had with these individuals, I am not seeing the value that it's bringing to Stewiacke itself is the $13,445 for TCPAP.
What page then?
It's on page 6. We paid $13,445 for TCPAP. Now, like I said, I think that they have a wonderful program, but I do not think that Stewiacke is in any position where they're bringing people to our community because there's nowhere for them to put them. So I think that TCPAP could be removed.
Actually, that's a good discussion one, because I have not seen much value.
Yeah.
I don't think Stewiacke is high on the radar.
Believe me, I believe in their program and I believe in what they do. But if somebody in Stewiacke needs TCPAP, they're still gonna help them. Regardless.
I'm not sure about that. I know as I attended the PAC meeting last week, and TCPEP was with the proponent that was looking for the rezoning. And I know that they are helping that proponent. I know they're also helping Mastodon Ridge. I know they're also helping Perry Lake Developments.
I think that they still would. I'm not seeing any value for, to me, there's wants and needs, and to me, this is a want, it's not a need. I'm listening to the people where they don't want to pay for something that they're not seeing any value from, and I think that they are a wonderful organization and I commend them, but I'm not seeing any value to Stewiacke from them.
Well, they're a business organization. I know we've had a couple of discussions and you've been at those meetings where the committee members actually would disagree with you and say that there is a value with TCPEP.
Well, I've had meetings with David myself, and the stuff that he presents to us really added no value in the conversation that he's bringing anything to town. my opinion.
I can only speak for the business committee, and that's what the business committee has said, not on just one occasion, but on two.
Like I said, I think that they're good, but I don't know. From the business committee that you have, how many people on that committee has TCPEP helped?
I. Now you're making me go around the table. I would 4 out of 5 of them. That I'm aware of.
Okay, I'm not aware of any of them other than the one, and it wasn't helping them, it was helping the business that's going into their building.
No, I know 4 out of 5.
And I would look at eliminating basic that. If we're looking for cost savings to bring things back to increase things, you know, that's a good one to get money back from. My opinion. Other than that, I have nothing.
Councillor LeBlanc or Councillor Rogers, do you have any questions?
I think I've said my piece. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor.
I don't think right now, but I need to process it more. So I might.
Okay. All right, then, it's a good time to move into item 10C, the amalgamation follow-up, meeting follow-up, and I will hand that over to our CAO.
So the mayor asked us just to add this to the business portion for conversation for council. Just an opportunity to follow up from what staff presented and what council heard during the meeting. And to get any direction from council, if any, regarding the matter. So, Madam Chair.
Well, I'll invite, a discussion.
From talking to the client, the residents, I've had many phone me. I've had many conversations in public with a lot of our residents, and I don't know where we go, but we have to go somewhere. I don't know if we're just gonna move it to get more information, if there's any more information that is available for us to get out there, or do we have to go to the next step and actually put in an application?
So I can answer that. There are 3 options that council can look at. The middle is, collecting more information. We talked about the example right now that's going on in Shelburne Municipality, Shelburne Township and Lockport. CBC article on Saturday of last week demonstrated, I believe it was $578,000 in costing that they brought forward from the 3 municipalities to gather the information to then go to the next stage, and they've requested that from the province. So when we're talking about getting more information, we had a lot of questions at that public information meeting, and unfortunately, the answer is we need to collect that data and do an analysis. We would need consultants and staff to do that analysis, and if we look at the example from our neighbors, their costing is $578,000 they've asked the province for to complete that work, to put them in a position to figure out whether or not they're going to apply for dissolution or amalgamation or not. So the information stage is quite costly, and it would require us to put some sort of team together to figure out what the analysis would be, what information we need, and put a cost to it.
So you're saying the cost is gonna be over $500,000 for us to go get more information?
I'm not saying that's exactly the cost, that's the cost in the exam, approximately.
Based on the information that we know.
That's the current value of the current situation that's happening in Nova Scotia between 3 municipalities to blend the information into the analysis portion.
Well, from what I'm hearing from the people out there, if we do not go to the next step and do what we need to do, if it's gonna cost us 500,000, I don't want to do that. So if it's going to be apply for an application, because we can stop this process at any time, right?
I don't know the answer to that.
We'd have to find if it can be stopped, because if we don't do something as a council, the residents are gonna do it. They're gonna get 130 signatures. And they're gonna force us to the next step. So I believe we have to go to the next step, my opinion.
I did some research myself, and what I discovered was from the Sheldon, because he used to live down here. There's no guarantee of any funding from the provincial government this time.
Not at all. In fact, in talking to the provincial rep right now, there are no funding avenues for
Okay.
the applications, so it's sort of a crapshoot to ask the province for the funding. They'd have to come up with it from a program that's non-existent.
And when I looked at Andy Ganesh, the cost was considerably more than 500,000. I think it was 1.5 million. And did they not have to repay some of that? Again, I'm a little hazy on things.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah. So can we actually afford 500,000, let alone 1.5 million?
I would say no, that's why we would have to just put the application in.
But if there's no money available from applications, how long do we wait? Well, I suppose we can wait a year.
And it should be clear, the 578,000 they're asking for is blended between 3 municipalities. Currently, we're just talking about town of Steviac only. They have dance partners to have the conversation with. We have not talked to anybody. So, you know, if you take that and just equate it to the 1/3 cost, that might get us to the information we need, but if we want to blend it in with information from other municipalities, I could see the number being close to 600,000.
I didn't hear that. What I heard was people looking for a reduction in their taxes, or what do they pay for their taxes. I haven't had one person email me or call me and say they want amalgamation. Every person that I have spoken to has talked to me about the tax rate. What do we get for our tax rate? The one thing that I did get from some of the residents that I spoke to was they believe that their taxes would go down if we amalgamated, which isn't necessarily the case. It might be, but it may not be either. But there was a couple of suggestions out of that meeting regarding a pie chart showing where our taxes go, like what portion goes to RCMP, what portion goes to recreation, what portion goes to assessment, what portion goes to school. And I know that staff both thought that was a great suggestion, so I'm wondering maybe we can incorporate some of that. I would like us to look at doing more cost sharing. Instead of the route of amalgamation. I would like us to explore more things like what you talked about with the Atlantic Water. Is that what their name is?
To water utility, correct?
Yeah. More things like that. That, as you have said earlier tonight, that has saved us considerable amount of time and money. That's what I would like to see. But I have not heard that people want amalgamation, but part of what we could do, which may not cost us $500,000, is start the MPS review and do some facilitation on what people want as a vision of the town. There's no doubt that our assessment has gone up considerably, even since I've come back to the tables in 2023. And I understand we cannot change what has happened in the past, and we can only move forward, and I commend the staff for keeping our projects on time, on budget. And you're right, it's because our procurement is better. But I do think that we need to do our due diligence in the fact of not rushing this.
If I may respond?
Yeah.
I would say, from a staffing perspective, we are doing everything we can to cut costs where we can, be innovative and cost share. We've got multiple examples where cost sharing, and that is great. We're gonna continue to do that. But those are operational costs that are not big savings. Our crux right now is our infrastructure costs.
Mhm.
We're looking for $38 million in infrastructure. Taxes are not going to go down to afford that infrastructure. Regardless whether you amalgamate or not, in the example we talked about in amalgamation meeting, in the example we amalgamated with Colchester, an area rate would likely be part of the equation for Stewiacke. And you have to blend in the cost of the infrastructure. That infrastructure is not going away. That is our major crux right now, and I think Helen did an excellent job presenting this tonight, that we are going to be in trouble affording our infrastructure if we don't invest properly.
Mhm.
She's doing a great job doing that, but taxes can't go down to pay for that infrastructure. That's the reality of our situation.
I just want to reiterate, when I'm talking amalgamation, it is talks that is all based around the tax rate, and people do think that, yes, if we amalgamate, it will go down. My conversation with them is it'll probably go up, and that's just my guess because of, as Mark had said, an area rate. But as he just said as well, with the taxes, we as a town are faced almost $40 million worth of debt that we're going into, with or without federal funding. If we only have to pay a third, we're still looking at $10 million. We don't have $10 million.
No.
And our infrastructure is failing every day. How many times do we have to go down to the water treatment plant because the pump broke? We have the diesel pump over in our fill station over here going, everything is breaking because nothing was looked after. Now we're crunched with having to fix everything that's been neglected for years. That's our problem. We do not have the funds.
So my takeaway from it, and I'll start by saying it's not just our infrastructure. It is a nationwide province, and you are hearing it constantly in the news in multiple sources. So this isn't just a Stewiacke thing, it's Nova Scotia's infrastructure, you look at Calgary, you look at various examples. It's every place, so there is some neglect and some things that maybe happened in the past, but it happened across Canada. So I don't think that that falls solely on just it's Stewiacke's problem now, but I don't know if it was staffing or what, or just the way it was. My takeaway from the amalgamation meeting is that overall, people don't want to amalgamate. They would like to remain a town. But they want their property taxes reduced by not 3 cents. They want their property tax reduced by 10 to 15 cents, not $65 a year. They want to see something visible, which it's not doable. And I personally don't think it's going to go down if we amalgamate either. I did also hear a lot about East Hants being 88 cents in Brookfield, and somebody just bought a house that I know in Elmsdale, and yes, the property tax is 88 cents, but it's plus, and it ends up being a lot more than.
$1.58.
Right, so there's that needs to be looked at, and maybe it's not as knowledgeable as just the base 88 cents. It's all the pluses that make it a lot more. I don't know where we go from here, because I don't know, honestly, I don't know what the answer is, because we can't do a 10 to 15 cent decrease, which is what I think people ultimately want to see, is a substantial savings in their personal, but I don't think amalgamation is going to fix that either, so I'm not really sure how to proceed to appease everybody.
Can we do some kind of a mail out or something and get some kind of feedback from our community to see where they are, where they would like us to go? Like, it's pretty hard and pretty unfair to the 5 of us sitting here trying to make such a major decision for our community. Like, we have to hear from our residents.
That's what I meant by the MPS facilitating that and the vision, right? Like, that's exactly what I meant.
But if we do an MPS, that's still gonna cost us 120.
Just a portion, just the facilitating portion, just to get us started.
I'm just having a hard time with spending any money because we don't have any.
But even to do a survey mail out is gonna cost us money.
Yes.
Can we do like a online,
But then
we've
you
done
not get
online
the
surveys
seniors,
and stuff.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
But the thing with a lot of the seniors, they're living in the senior facilities, so they're not property homeowners, so those are the people that we have to really, talk to. The homeowners.
Yeah, but seniors do pay taxes who they live.
Yes, they do.
So when the rent goes up, part of that is.
Of course.
I didn't hear anybody really hot, heavy for amalgamation. I've had several people saying, no way, they want to contain continue the village atmosphere.
The town.
Town, yes, sorry about that, the town. What I was surprised at is the Brookfield, what's $1.58, just like ours.
$1.40 in Brookfield.
Oh, okay, but it's very similar to us.
Correct.
And so when we're talking about it being part of the county, well, that's really not a big savings, really. It is a savings. What I did hear, and I did talk to several people about this, is that they buy houses, then the cap comes on.
Mhm.
And then their tax bill is $500 more a month than they had anticipated.
That's the problem.
Well, that's one problem, and I don't know if we have a solution to that or not. Because.
No, it's a problem.
Because we are talking, people are upset about their taxes. But everybody's talking about their taxes.
Mhm.
So even if you send out a mail out, I bet you everybody's gonna come back, reduce taxes.
82% of the population in Stewiacke are capped. We have 18% of the new people that are paying the bulk of the taxes.
Yeah, I know. We just can't seem to win on that one.
But again, we're not, it's, as, you know, Councilor Rogers said, that's not just a Stewiacke problem, that's
It's not because.
that's a Nova Scotia problem.
You bought the house, you should be prepared for that, and you should have had the proper information before you bought that house, so that's on whomever's buying the house.
But we also have an infrastructure problem that's just national, whether we like it or not. The good Prime Minister Candace, he's gonna spend $1 million on Canadian Forces Base Gagetown. I've stayed at Canadian Forces Base. They don't need $1 billion, they need $2 or $3 billion. I was living in buildings that were built before the Second World War. The infrastructure, it's terrible. But nobody decided to fix it, and now we're trying to fix it, but the cost, it just keeps going and going and going. And I don't have a solution. I'm kind of just shaking my head and saying, well, gee whiz, what are we gonna do?
I do agree with Councilor Rogers that people are looking for a substantial reduction. I couldn't find it. The best I could do was 3 cents.
Well, and that's the thing, I guess
Council.
there's nothing we can do in our budget.
We're,
Current,
we're bare bones.
future, there's absolutely no, there's not a chance.
Mhm.
It's, you know,
And we're
you
not,
look at it as your home, like you have to kind of. And you know, maybe if residents looked at it as how they operate a home budget, it might kind of be the same way, but everything, you know. I just got oil the other day, it was $2.25 a liter, like everything.
$1,200.
You know, so it's like, I get it, I appreciate it, I'm a homeowner, I'm a taxpayer, but there's no way it can be done, and that's kind of the way it is, and I don't think amalgamation is gonna fix that.
I think we're fortunate that staff didn't come to us to raise our tax rate. To be perfectly honest.
Well,
I'm surprised.
Everything else did, so yeah, really.
But as far as amalgamation goes, I haven't heard of anyone that wants it.
It's all based on taxes,
Mhm.
very much so.
But I think.
But I think if we amalgamate, I think our taxes would go up because we
I
would be,
agree.
even if we go with Colchester, you know, you get your 88.5 base plus. So you're still getting up at, by my calculations, in town, $1.71. Some of the rural people might, you know, have a little bit of a reduction, but the bulk of us, it'll probably go to $1.71.
And then the services would be reduced.
I believe so, but we don't know that.
Well. I'm all for either like finding out more information, like the mayor has said. Whether we do it through survey, which is gonna cost us money, or we bring, you know, we. Do some type of combination, I don't know, I mean, I would say put it in the newsletter, but we don't do a newsletter, so
It's online.
hence we don't do a newsletter.
well, maybe your suggestion of what we have to get done and do a little section maybe. I mean, we're gonna have to spend $120,000 to do that over the next year or two.
Oh, the MPS?
Yes,
Mhm.
so why can't we maybe jerry rig it a tad bit?
Yeah, you don't have to do it all at once,
No,
right?
but if we're gonna do it, maybe a little bit,
Do the facilitation part, which would be the survey and all of that.
yeah.
Something has to happen. We can't just say we've had the meeting and, okay, it's done. There, the people they want more answers. I don't know what that answer is.
I was gonna say, so, what are you thinking?
What else can you find us, Mark?
Cause I have no idea, I don't, it's not helpful, but I have no idea.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you're saying staff are not coming and asking for more. We're operating as bare bones as we can, and doing the best we can. The crux is our infrastructure program, and that's where we can't cut back, unfortunately, because we have crumbling infrastructure, we need a water plant, water, wastewater, and we haven't been that 38 million. We said we have not included our paving program,
Mhm.
culverts, sidewalks. That's gonna go up. It's gonna go up higher and higher. So maybe Helen has comments, but you know, in terms of the amalgamation conversation, the borrowing capacity of our town versus the borrowing capacity of going with the Colchester or whatever the strength in numbers, the borrowing capacity is there. So I don't know if there's cost savings to be had with borrowing capacity. Maybe Helen can comment on that or not. I don't know.
I can't comment on that right now, no.
You raised a suggestion that we increase our borrowing from 2 million to 5 million.
Yes, through our VC.
So
That again is just a Band-Aid.
exactly, but hear me out for a sec. We do it through RBC and not the municipal finance? Or?
What are we gonna debenture? What are we gonna borrow against? What asset?
No, I'm just asking, do we borrow from RBC and not the municipal finance board? Is
No.
that right?
No, we would borrow through debenture,
Right,
right?
okay,
And we could utilize RBC as well,
oh, okay.
but that's gonna increase our fiscal costs.
Right, and that's what I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, so that's gonna have a minimum increase of approximately 514,000 annually in fiscal costs. So it's gonna come out of the operational budget. That's gonna reduce what we can transfer to reserves.
Yeah.
And it's the reserves where we need that money.
Right, so. Hear me out here, cause I do believe that there will be federal funding coming. I mean, there's just announcement after announcement after announcement. Because of exactly what Councilor Rogers said. It's not just a Nova Scotia problem, it's a national problem. So I do believe that there will be some sort of program. What that looks like, who the heck knows? So I was kind of looking at bridge financing, is what I was gonna ask.
Right, and I mean, you can do bridge financing through the bank. You know, if your project is almost completed, say 80% completed, and you just need to get that little extra mile,
Right,
right?
right,
It's not going to, you can't use bridge financing for a shovel-ready project.
okay,
And I'll just add in there, even if the programs do come out, and there's, 50% cost sharing,
or 70, yeah,
maybe 70,
yeah,
we're still looking at over a $10 million need.
yeah, over 3 years. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
At the current rate of what we're just tucking away now, it would take us 10 years to reach that goal.
As long as nothing else happens.
Oh, that's provided that nothing else happens, right?
All right,
So can you find more, can you get more information for us, or have you got it all? Is there anything else you can find us on amalgamation?
We can put our heads in the books and see what we can find, but maybe we'll have more information coming out next meeting is at the request of council.
Whatever you can find out.
Okay.
And maybe can you just see what a cost of a facilitator if staff doesn't have the capacity to start the MPS? And part of that
Well,
being,
we've got that cost, that's $120,000.
no, that's the cost of the total NPS.
Right.
I'm talking about just the facilitating part, because that would incorporate the survey, the information on what people want this town to look like or not look like. Right?
Okay, good discussion. Let's move on to item number 11, town committees. There are no updates from town committees tonight. So I will open the floor to council for any updates for that you may have. I'll start with Mayor Glasser, no? Well, Councilor Rogers, any updates?
No, nothing.
Councilor Osborne?
No, I think I've said enough tonight.
Okay, there are no in-camera sessions, so we will adjourn the meeting. And at 8:50. And we will have a 5-minute recess to switch to our. Local meeting.
And we will meet in public meeting, for the 5 minutes and
Yeah.
we'll unmute after the 5 minute
Sorry.
recess is over. Okay, we're set.
All right, and welcome back. We will begin our council meeting portion of this evening. We'll call it to order at 8:57 p.m. We are all still in attendance with the exception of Councilor Rogers, who is now with us online. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any requests to change the agenda? I see none, so if I could get a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll make that motion that we approve the agenda for the council session for March 26th, 2026.
Thank you, Councilor Osborne. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Mayor Luke. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of interest on the agenda?
We need to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, all in favor? Carried.
Sure.
Sorry, guys. Disclosure of interest. Are there any disclosure of interests on the agenda? I see none. We have no minutes to approve. There are no announcements. We have no presentations. There are no written petitions or correspondence. We have no citizen comments as there are no citizens here. I'll hand it over to our CAO Mark for business.
Thank you, Mayor Glasser. With our new format, we will put the resolutions that were recommended by council from the last meeting up on the screen so that the public can see. We had 3 areas of business that were recommended by council to come forward, or sorry, by committee of the whole and to council. The first was regarding the grid funding report. It was a report that was brought forward to council, just announcing that we've been successful in obtaining a $1.7 million grant from the province. And the recommendation was for the town to match that. The recommendation under town A is in front of council on the screen. Happy to take any questions or council can make the motion.
I'll make that. Oh, Rebecca. Go ahead.
I did hear Councilor Rogers, yes.
She's gone. She's on the screen.
She is gone. We have quorum, so we can continue. If need be.
I'll make that motion that council authorize the mayor and CAO to execute the contribution documents with the province of Nova Scotia Department of Municipal Affairs to secure $1,702,006 towards the cost of the town's water treatment plant design and project management. And that council approve that the town of Stewiacke match the province's contribution and approve the town's contribution of $1,702,006 of the project cost of $3,404,012.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Second. Deputy Mayor Luke. All in favor? And it's carried.
And Councilor Rogers is back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
No problem. Glad to have you back.
Thank
Councilor
you.
Rogers, verbalize your vote to say yay or nay on that.
Yay, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, second item, which is 10B, the tender of low tide lift station. Committee of the whole council recommended that we proceed to move forward on the low tide road pump station upgrades. An award to Rodco Mechanical in the amount of $247,000. That was done in line with our town procurement policy.
Thank you. Can I get a motion on that?
I'll make that motion that the low tide road pump station report be received and that council award contract number 251100.00 low tide road pump station upgrades to Rodco Mechanical 2014 Limited in the amount of $247,000 plus HST, and that council authorize the mayor and CAO to execute the contract on behalf of the town.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second it.
That's our deputy mayor. All in favor?
All right.
Yay.
Rebecca?
Yes,
Yay.
yay.
Thank you.
Okay, and the third item of business that was recommended by committee of the whole to council with regarding the offer of land from Perry Lake Developments. In the amount of $1 for the purpose of building a new town hall. Now it's for a 1.3 acre lot at the development by the highway.
I have a question. Were we able to secure that contract? Like, is it still going ahead as what we were presented with last month? Or is
Yes,
that what, or is
The
it? this-
stipulations that were in the report will form
Okay.
the contract.
Okay,
Pending council sign off, we'll have the lawyers draft the agreement in line with the report.
with that, I'll make the motion. That council move forward with the offer of the land from Perry Lake Development in the amount of $1 for the purpose of building a new town hall.
You have a second.
Second.
We'll go with Councilor LeBlanc.
Okay.
All in favor?
All right,
Carry.
Councilor Rogers.
She said that, yes.
Aye. Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Move to item 11.
Oh, yes, committee bylaw and policy funding grant policy from Councilor Rogers.
All right, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so last meeting, Mark actually presented a new policy that was put forward, and if anyone has any questions on it, they can ask. If not, we can proceed.
Any questions?
No questions? Okay,
No
so
question.
okay, so I can make the the recommendation that council approve. No, sorry. Sorry, the council accept the funding and grant policy as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Councilor Osborne? Yeah, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
All right, the PAC, the acquisition, or the request for the encroachment agreement, sorry. And you have that one?
I certainly do. So that was just item 11B. It was a very simple request brought forward by Jacob McPherson on behalf of a resident to approve that the town enter into an encroachment agreement with the applicant. A small portion of the property does encroach on town land. And just the following portion of the recommendation just allows staff to follow a similar process and in the future.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion that council approve that staff enter the town into an encroachment agreement with the applicant, and that council direct staff to consider future encroachment agreement requests through a similar process without requiring a public process.
Thank you. Seconder?
Okay.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Council updates. Are there any additional updates from anybody?
Nope.
Nope. All right. So now we will move to our in-camera session, and we'll move into in-camera at 9:06.
do you want a motion?
Oh, yeah. Can I get a motion to go in camera?
I'll make the motion that we move in camera.
I'll second that motion.
Hang on, I was wondering. Thank you, ladies. At 9:06.
I will sign off the public portion of the meeting. Thank you to everyone. That was a long one. Great discussion.